If you could trace your entire family history, how far back would you go? Or which direction would you go? Who were the most popular relatives or the most well-known relatives? What did they achieve? And what about the unknown relatives, those that are missing from the family tree? Well, I'm here today to tell you about a woman whose DNA I share, but whose identity remained a mystery to us for several decades, until very recently. This is Fetine Memiş. She's the one with the beautiful long braids. She's my mother's auntie, in other words, my grandfather's sister. I want to tell you 3 facts about this photo. 1, she was approximately 14 years old in this photo. The photo was taken in Limassol in 1935 or 1936, we're not quite sure, just before she was married to a Palestinian man and moved to Palestine for good. 2, the other woman in the photo is a beloved neighbor and friend, Sherife. Now, in Alefdora village, which was a small Turkish Cypriot village, Fetine Memiş and Sherife were very close friends, and they wanted to take this photo together before she left. And it was Sherife's daughter who shared this photo with us in 2011 when we tracked her down in the Morphu area. 3, apart from a birth certificate, which we also attained in 2011, this photo is the only evidence I had up until that time that Fetine Memiş even existed. So we're talking about 70 years of no contact between Fetine Memiş and her relatives in Cyprus. What we know is that marriage back then was a business transaction. Young girls and women were married in exchange for dowries, for family benefits or ties, and this was mostly agreed between the men of the family. Now, I heard lots of stories that there was poverty back then. I would also like to believe that women didn't really have a voice. They didn't have a choice in choosing their life partner. And perhaps we could also say that this was the general cultural practice during the British colonial period of Cyprus and Palestine. So why am I talking about all this? Well, I want to start by saying that on the left we have Fetine Memiş and on the right we have Fetine Mentesh. Fetine Mentesh is my mum. So when I found out that my mother was named after an auntie that she never even met, and when I started to hear these stories about how my own grandfather was so upset when she left that he didn't talk to his own father for many months, I started to ask a lot of questions. But most of all, I have to say that for me, I felt that an injustice had happened in my family. An injustice had occurred to a young woman who was not given a choice in how her life was going to turn out. Now, when Fetine Memiş left, she made a promise. She said that if you send me away, you will never see me again. And sadly, she kept her promise. So fast forward to the present time, and I want to tell you about what happened. I started to ask a lot of questions. I had this innate desire to find this woman. I couldn't accept that she was gone and that nobody had ever looked for her. So I started asking questions, and it was this innate curiosity that, makes us do big things, that, makes us move beyond ourselves. So I was talking about it with my dear friend Yediz Shukri, who was a director, and she was the one that inspired me to start a documentary film project and to really start searching, a proper search, a proper investigation as to where Fetine Memiş could be. So we started to research, we started to trace her footsteps, and we started to inquire into where she might be in the present day. But before I tell you what we discovered, I want to pose some questions. What if this was still happening now? What would you do or could you do if young girls and young women were being forced into marriages that they didn't want? Well, I can tell you that in some countries in Africa, 50% of the girl population are married before the age of 18. We have examples in India of 11-month-old baby girls being married. So this is still an issue in the 21st century, guys. It's, we talk about the past and we say, well, it's just how it was. That's how it was back then. And we accept that. What I would say, though, is the difference between the past and the present is that there are so many women's groups and advocates fighting for the rights of these women. The issue of dowry-based marriages and child marriages are definitely on the international agenda. But what about the past? What about the untold stories? What about those stories that we didn't hear about and those voices that we didn't give a voice to? Yeliz and I, with a small crew, a very small crew, travelled to Palestine and Jordan in 2012. And what we discovered was a whole new branch of my family tree that I never knew existed. Now, I got to walk in the footsteps of Fetina. I got to breathe her air. I got to find out about her favourite food and her favourite flowers. I even got to sleep in her room. Fate would have it, though, that I wouldn't get to meet the elusive Fetina Mentesh. I was several years too late. But it wasn't too late for me to meet all of her wonderful children and grandchildren. What I discovered was amazing, and the thing that I want to say right now is that it also brought completion and closure. It was as if this magical piece of the jigsaw puzzle had finally been put in its place. And I got to know people that I never even knew existed and I was related to. So, you know, we always question these things and we wonder why these things happen. You know, and for me, when I came back from Palestine and Jordan, I knew that my life would never be the same. I felt that, you know, we made this documentary project and, you know, it's okay, I've met these people now, it's amazing, we've closed. No, the chapter's not closed. The journey continues, the inquiry continues. And this is the thing that has really stayed with me. Now, I want to ask, what do we consider family? Is family who we really are? I want you to consider the fact that anything you believe in life, anything you choose to fight for or defend, is deeply rooted in who you are. By that, I mean that your family connection, your history, your DNA, everything about you is deeply connected to what you choose to believe and fight for in life. Now, for me, the fact my connection with Cyprus, with Palestine, women's rights, these are purely not a coincidence anymore. So, where does this leave us? My journey has forced me to reconsider what I believe to be the truth about the past. It has forced me to think differently about what had happened and to give voice to the other side of the family. I'm now a bridge, by the way, between Cyprus, Palestine, Australia, America, Germany. It's amazing. And as I said, the journey continues. But really, what was the most fundamental aspect of this entire process? Well, it's left me with just one wish, and that's all. And that is for all families to be connected, to know each other and to love each other. And this is my wish for each and every one of you. Thank you.